Hello everyone, I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing laser in Telltale games, Transformers, and more. Welcome back to another Transformers EarthSpark review, where today we are going to be looking at Season 1, Episode 15, Bare Necessities. Now, after the huge episode that was last week with Episode 14, Security Protocols, which is, to this right now, my favorite episode of EarthSpark of all time, it is going to be very, very hard to follow up on that, but honestly, it's an interesting, very different kind of episode for EarthSpark, and the fact that it's actually more so a filler one, really, in that nothing is really done to progress the general plot of the whole show, but more so, it's a nice little character building piece between a lot of characters, specifically Twitch and Dot, especially digging a lot into Dot's character as well, which is something we haven't really seen and since, I want to say, episode 10 with Age of Evolution Part 2, but also a bit with episode 4, House Rules, which is really cool to see more of Dot and just the more human Malto family in general. Also, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying this episode is extremely controversial, but because a lot of G1 peers out there saying that, oh, the summary of this episode, basically the basis of this episode is so stupid, G1 Transformers would never, Bayverse would never, Prime would never. Really now, G1 Transformers would never do something this crazy. They wouldn't. G1 Transformers didn't have an episode entirely dedicated to all of the Autobots being shrunk down to toy size for an alien child or other crazy stuff like going back in time to medieval times and so on. Yeah, G1 would never. The fact that this EarthSpark episode is basically pretty much Cocaine Bear, but for Transformers, that's too crazy for your Transformers fans, for the G1 purists. I digress though. This is honestly just a harmless filler episode that I think is really sweet too. So we're going to go ahead and see everything this episode did right and what it did wrong. Bare Necessities starts off like Security Protocols with another cold open, and also like Security Protocols also starts with a ghost-themed cold open, but we don't exactly know that just yet. All we know is that it starts off with this presumable news van dropping off a bunch of packages in the middle of the woods that have the Ghost logo on it. But we'll get back to that halfway through this episode where we find out what exactly is in these boxes. After that, we cut to the Malto Homestead where we see Alex waking up Dot for Mother's Day, wishing her happy Mother's Day, and helping her get her, pick out a prosthetic leg for her to wear this day. And I absolutely love this scene that they put a spotlight on Dot's disability as a woman with a prosthetic leg. The fact that it's not just, similarly to how Missed Connection brought up again that Nightshade is non-binary, I do really like how EarthSpark constantly keeps in mind to the audience and puts it in the forefront that yes, Dot is a disabled woman and she has a prosthetic leg. It's not just that, oh, like they showed her dramatically having the one prosthetic leg in episode 9 and then just never bring it up again and just like imply it. The fact that they are so obvious about, yes, this woman is disabled, she has a prosthetic leg, and this is what has to be done about it, that she has to literally be helped out of bed every morning by her husband and then get the new prosthetic leg on her, is really cool to see. And I absolutely love that the EarthSpark development team is putting the fact that Dot is a disabled woman in the forefront of not just one episode, but periodically throughout the entirety of this series. I absolutely love that. So after Alex helps Dot get her leg on, Alex says he's gonna run out to get her Mother's Day present and leaves her to go deal with the kids. So as Dot gets up, she does hear suddenly Mo screaming and calling for help from the dugout. So Dot immediately, she springs into action. She is an action mom, and you can totally tell that she's a former soldier. She just runs out of the house, grabs a pitchfork from a bale of hay, and runs into it with the dugout. Does this nice little combat roll, ready to defend her daughter, only to realize that instead she, Robbie, and the rest of the Terrans have all put together a decorated dugout, all Mother's Day themed, ready to give a bunch of gifts to her. And I absolutely love this scene of all the Terrans giving her gifts for Mother's Day. This is our first real, truly Dot-centered episode. Similarly to how you could say episode 6 Traditions was focused on Alex, this is the Dot equivalent of that. Another filler episode that really is puts more emphasis on developing and giving more character to Robbie and Mo's mother and father, which I really enjoy in that regard. After that, though, we move on to a joint gift by hashtag Jawbreaker and Thrash, which I absolutely love this and was something I was hoping would happen all the way back in episode 6. So hashtag puts choreographed a little musical number with Thrash and Jawbreaker doing a little rap song for Dot, with Thrash playing on the same homemade guitar that Mo made for him back in episode 6, and Jawbreaker is rapping like these lyrics about how much of an awesome mom Dot is. I absolutely love this, and I hope something like this would happen at some point in EarthSpark, because I think I remember saying this back in my review of episode 6, when it was the B plot was about Mo teaching Thrash how to play guitar. I was so hoping, like, oh man, it would be so awesome if at some point Robbie, Mo, Twitch, Thrash, and the rest of the Terrans all get together and make a little rock band, and it's about them trying to be famous, like a little filler episode. Maybe they do like a battle of the bands against Frenzy, Laserbeak, and Soundwave. That would have been such a cool episode, and in a way, this is sort of like that. Like, the framework is being set. Nickelodeon, I swear, please give us an episode of EarthSpark where the Terrans form a little rock band. It would be adorable. Nightshade is the next Terran to give Dot their Mother's Day gift, and while it seems as though at first that what Dot seems to be believing that Nightshade's present is that they just feel grateful that Dot decided to take them in as her child, and while she does seem to enjoy having them as her child, it is a lot more than that, and we'll see more truly of what Nightshade gave Dot for Mother's Day later on this episode. But anyway, as Mo is giving her gift to Dot, Twitch is freaking out in the background, which Robbie picks up on due to his connection to her with his cyber sleeve, and asks her what's wrong. And it's at this point where Twitch explains to Robbie that she's freaking out because she doesn't have a gift for Dot for Mother's Day, and she wants the Mother's Day to be perfect for Dot. And this, to me, it feels perfectly in line with Twitch's character so far, that she feels like she can't fail at anything, that she's got to be perfectionist with absolutely everything that comes to her. And it fits very similarly to, like, it's a sort of serves as a thematic sequel to what Twitch was going through in the last episode of Security Protocols, where she felt like she always had to be the leader of the Autobots, and that if she failed them, then someone could get hurt, die. She believed that because of her failure, that's why B had to go on the run at the end of Security Protocols, so she doesn't want to have to go through that again with ruining Mother's Day for Dot, which I think is really cool to, like, sort of continue Twitch's character arc in this episode. Even though it's very, very small, it doesn't exactly deal with the trauma she felt by losing B in the last episode, it's still, like, a thematical sequel in the way, which I really enjoy. So, realizing this, Robbie tries to reassure Twitch by basically telling her to get her, like, pretty much any of the regular Mother's Day gifts, such as a teddy bear, flowers, or chocolates. And so when Twitch hears a teddy bear, she immediately feels relieved and decides to go head out to go get a gift. However, when she comes back, it's not quite what Robbie was expecting. So I absolutely love how this reveal comes in, is that you hear like a baby bear cry from the top of the dugout, and then Twitch is seen flying in with the baby bear, but drops it as it just rolls through on the floor, down the stairs, and over one of Jawbreaker's legs. And Jawbreaker's just at first freaks out over seeing the baby bear, which I think is a nice little reference to Robots in Disguise 2015 Grimlock, who also was scared of baby animals, though in his case it was cats instead of bears. But afterwards, he does seem to warm up to the bear cub. However, when Dot sees it and Twitch presents it to her as her Mother's Day gift, Dot is freaking out, asking Twitch why she just kidnapped the baby bear from the wilderness away from its mother. And Twitch is totally confused by this, saying that it was Robbie's idea to give Dot a bear for Mother's Day. But then Robbie explains that to get her a teddy bear, not an actual real-life bear. I absolutely love how hashtag responds to this in the background, where she says something along the lines of, oh, hey, we don't know if its name's Teddy or not. It could be. I just think that was, like, honestly, one of the funniest moments in the episode for me. But at this point, Dot explains to Twitch that the bear can't stay here and needs to go back to its mother. So she has Twitch and Robbie come with her to into the woods to go and return the baby bear, believing that it's sort of Robbie's fault for giving Twitch the idea to get the bear. So that leaves Mo, Thrash, and the rest of the Terrans alone in the dugout, while Robbie, Dot, and Twitch have to go help her return the baby bear. So the plot here splits into two stories for now. The A plot, which focuses on Twitch, Robbie, and Dot trying to return the mother bear to its cub, and then the B plot with Mo, Thrash, Nightshade, hashtag, and Jawbreaker back at the barn, presumably waiting for Dot and everyone else to return. So we're gonna go ahead and follow the A plot for now with Twitch, Robbie, and Dot. So at this point, we have Twitch and Robbie arguing in the back seat of the car, basically with Twitch being mad at Robbie for not specifying that she that Dot would have hated, getting a teddy bear, but still not understanding that what she got wasn't a teddy bear the slightest. So as Robbie and Twitch are arguing, Dot calls back to them while they're driving, saying that she doesn't want to listen to them fight all the time. But as she says the word fight, suddenly Dot's prosthetic leg starts glowing red, and for some reason, her foot actually shoots a laser beam through the floor of the car, causing the whole car to nearly go crashing into a tree in the road. So she manages to get the car under control and park and stop on the side of the road. However, the laser blast ruins the car, so they have to walk on foot the rest of the way. It's at this point then also that Dot realizes what Nightshade got her for Mother's Day, and what they did was essentially upgrade her prosthetic leg to give her a bunch of other abilities. So seemingly, prosthetic leg will react differently to what she's feeling. So in case if she says fight, or maybe she's feeling angry, her leg can function as a laser gun, which seems really impractical. Is she just going to be constantly just shooting at the ground, or did Nightshade expect her to just kick her leg out and then shoot with her leg that way? I have no idea what Nightshade was thinking, but clearly I don't think they were thinking well. As they get out of the car, though, the baby cub breaks off into the woods, starts running off on its own. So at this point, though, Twitch immediately thinks that their job is done, and since the baby cub is back in the woods, that they don't really have to worry about it anymore. But at this point, when Dot explains to Twitch that just because it's out in the woods, it won't be safe because it can't really survive on its own without its mother. So at this point, Twitch is just starting to freak out too, because she feels like that she's responsible now for this bear being alone. So, and that just makes her whole perfectionist complex even more worse, believing that she's going to ruin this baby bear's life by taking it away from its mother. So we get this really cool scene of Dot and Robbie trying to follow the tracks in the forest, while at the same time looking for the mother bear as well. Meanwhile, Twitch is up in the air above all the trees, using her drone almost to scan for like the actual imprints in the dirt for any sort of tracks, which she is able to follow the baby cub's tracks for a bit, only then to realize that they suddenly stop and transform into the mother bear's tracks. So believing they're on the trails of the mother bear, they all run over to this point where Dot finds not the mother bear, but for a strange reason, all the boxes that the news van was dropping off at the beginning of this episode. So Dot flips over one of these containers, which are all marked by Ghost, and sees that they contain these weird purple like larvae or grubs that are just oozing with some sort of pink substance. We don't exactly know if this is Energon that has infected the grubs, or maybe some sort of other alien parasite that has infected these bugs. Considering the more grounded tone of this show, I'm going to go ahead and say perhaps maybe the bugs got infected with Energon. That could be it, but also it could very well be some sort of alien virus or parasite that's just totally unrelated to Energon. I'm just thinking it's Energon related because it's got the pink glow to it, as Energon and EarthSpark is pink like in G1. However, Dot realizes that they don't have time really to try and figure out what this is about, because they need to focus on getting the baby bear. So as they're going to continue to find it, it's at this point Twitch then tries to profusely apologize to Dot, explaining that she's sorry for ruining her mother's day and just wanted to get the perfect gift for her. And at this point where Dot basically says that she doesn't really care about the gifts, and that defined as a gift isn't necessarily just a physical object, but rather could just be an experience or a memory made. So she basically explains like a good gift would have been just taking the time to go bird watching with Dot or something like that, or just spending time as they're doing now exploring the woods. So Twitch learns a little good lesson here about how not everything needs to be a perfect, because I understand there's probably a lot of kids out there who either looking for birthday presents or also like Mother's Day or Father's Day parent presents who don't feel like that their gift is enough, but just to learn that what they give isn't really important, just the fact that the thought that counts, and also just making the most out of making sure that day is all about who it's for. That's what's most important, and I think that's a really good message to set for EarthSpark's audience. As Robbie, Twitch, and Dot are continuing their chase for the baby bear, we cut back at different points in this episode to what's going on back at the Malto Homestead with Mo, Thrash, Jawbreaker, Nightshade, and Hashtag, where to kill the time, they're sort of basically replicating a fight with Dot versus Mandroid. So Mo is pretending to be Dot, protecting all the rest of the Terrans, while Jawbreaker's pretending to be Mandroid, and Hashtag's directing the whole play, essentially. So it's at this point where it's just they're all having fun in games, and suddenly they get interrupted by the mother bear coming back, having us follow the tracks of the baby bear that Twitch left behind. So at this point, everyone freaks out and goes to take shelter in the upper part of the barn where the mama bear can't reach them. However, with not only Mo, but also hashtag Jawbreaker, Thrash, and Nightshade all sitting up there, the top floor of the barn is slowly giving way to all their weight combined with they're not going to be able to stay up there forever. So it's at this point, Mo decides, they think, oh, well, you know what, we're all awesome cyber Terrans and Autobots. Bumblebee taught us well, surely we can beat up this bear and knock it unconscious. So at this point, which I think is absolutely hilarious, Mo gets the bright idea to lead all the Terrans, being technically the oldest one out of all of them, which is hilarious. Make the 9-year-old the oldest sister here. Mo decides to lead Thrash, Jawbreaker, hashtag, and Nightshade to corner the mama bear in the barn to try and get ready to attack her. But once she just roars like once at them, they all just go screaming and running out of the barn with I believe Mo's either driving away in Thrash's sidecar or Thrash is running carrying Mo this whole time while Nightshade's flying behind all of them and hashtag's running. So as they're running away from the mama bear, hashtag is rapidly trying to think of a bunch of different ways to look up how humans deal with bear attacks. So she learns a bunch of stuff. One of my favorite parts is when she says you're supposed to make yourself smaller. So Nightshade in their owl mode immediately just folds their wings together and just drops dead onto the drops like a rag doll onto the floor and rolls in the background, completely being ignored by the mama bear as she keeps chasing Mo, Thrash, hashtag, and Jawbreaker. Eventually, though, she mentions to have everyone play dead, which they all do, so the mama bear goes around sniffing everyone. But at this point, hashtag realizes that she's been looking at a list of things what not to do when a bear attacks you. So immediately freaking out, though, she notices, though, the mama bear is drawn to Jawbreaker more than the other Terrans, and that's because the baby cub bear was all rubbing off all over Jawbreaker earlier, so therefore Jawbreaker has the cub scent all over him. So they decide to use Jawbreaker as bait to lead them to where Robbie, Twitch, and Dot are. So they use their cyber sleep connection with Robbie to try and find where he, Twitch, and Dot are, and that leads them all to come together at this big ravine where Dot, Twitch, and Robbie have managed to corner the baby cub, having it cornered on this large branch that's hanging over the side of this ravine that will fall into a river that goes down to a much larger waterfall. So it's at this point at first that when Robbie and Twitch cross the baby bear, Twitch suggests transforming into her drone mode to just grab the baby bear off the branch so it doesn't fall into the water, though Dot says not to because she would easily scare the baby cub and that they need to do it quietly. However, at this point, though, that's when Mo, Thrash, Jawbreaker, Nightshade, and hashtag come in with the mama bear and freak the baby bear out even more, causing it to get even closer to the edge of the branch. But here's where the twist comes in. So, if you remember the alien parasite larva things, the energon-infected larva that Ghost was presumably dropping off early in the beginning of this episode, you'll see suddenly, when the mama bear corners all of them, suddenly her eyes start glowing bright pink like the larva, and all of a sudden, I swear to God, I was like, I did not expect this at all. Suddenly, these pink-purple bubbles start forming all over the top of its back, and several tentacles shoot out of the bear's back and head with like these eyeballs on it. It looks like something out of Resident Evil, honestly, which is, I think, is great considering I've just finished the Resident Evil 4 remake as I'm recording this. So literally, it just feels like something out of Resident Evil. The mama bear is just mutated into this big bear parasite thing that I have no idea what this is. Is it caused by energon parasites, or larva that ate energon and therefore became infected on energon? Or is it just some sort of unrelated alien parasite that these bugs got infected with? The mama bear ate these bugs and therefore it became infected with this parasite as well. I have no idea, and the show sort of leaves that as a mystery, which I'm not exactly sure if we'll ever get a concrete answer to, but it's interesting nonetheless. That leads sort of to the final confrontation of this episode, where all the Autobots and Dot are trying to restrain the mama bear from just causing more chaos and basically just killing everyone, while meanwhile Robbie is slowly climbing across the large fallen tree trying to get the baby cub away from the stream. So as this is happening, we have this amazing moment where it starts like hashtag is trying to stop the mama bear, when immediately it just swipes at her with one of its tentacles, knocking her into the cliffside and knocking her out. it then tries to attack Dot and Mo as well, but Thrash manages to save them by using his sidecar as a shield, but therefore he gets knocked out of the way as well. Then one of the bears about to lunge for Mo, Nightshade grabs her and starts trying to fly away with her, but then one of the bear's tentacles grabs on the Nightshade's legs and slams them and Mo down into the ground. I absolutely love, though, how protective Nightshade is of Mo in this, that despite taking the brunt of damage, they still manage to just keep Mo perfectly safe as they go through a bunch of trees in the process, knocking Nightshade out, but Mo's still perfectly unharmed. So that just leaves Twitch, Jawbreaker, and Dot at this point, while Robbie's still getting the baby cub. Dot's trying to watch over Robbie, make sure he doesn't fall at the same time, while Jawbreaker's busy trying to protect Dot as well. And so Dot's just trying to get all this handled, and I absolutely love how capable they make Dot in this episode. That, honestly, she's so cool how she handles the mama bear in this episode. So, essentially, so it's starting to attack Dot as well, one of the tentacles wrapping around her, and it looks like it's going to bite off her prosthetic leg when all of a sudden Nightshade regains consciousness and commands her prosthetic leg to activate disco mode. So that causes the leg to glow up this bright pink disco light and basically acts like a strobe light that blinds the mama bear, and that's where the twist gets even crazier. So that stuns the mama bear enough to just cause Dot to be freed, but at the same time it seems to have a negative side effect with the parasite that's taken over the bear, for at some point the alien parasite sort of just jumps out of the bear's body and creates a perfect clone of the mama bear, which is now totally unconscious. So now Dot's facing this bear parasite thing that is just even more agitated and aggressive than the bear being infected by the parasite was. So as she's dealing with this, we were cutting back to Robbie and the baby bear at the same time, as Robbie's still trying to make its way over to the baby bear. The fallen tree is slowly cracking more and more, so Robbie ends up nearly falling off and basically just hang on for dear life over it. So Twitch has to save not only the baby bear, but Robbie as well. And for a second, I really love how EarthSpark kind of ramps up the suspense in this part of the episode, because if this is a normal kid show, I think, oh, well, Robbie's gonna fall, yeah, but then Twitch is gonna catch him before he falls into the river. But no, that is not what happens at all. They make you really think that Robbie's gonna die here for a good while, because yes, Robbie falls off the branch, but Twitch doesn't catch him. He actually falls into the river completely, thankfully totally unharmed due to the depth of the river. But then the river is gonna take Robbie straight off this large waterfall to like basically fall against all these large jagged rocks at the bottom of the waterfall, and he actually falls down that as well. But thankfully it's then when Twitch manages to transform, dives off the waterfall, and grabs Robbie in her drone mode before he falls to his death, saving him. Meanwhile, Jawbreaker is the one who actually goes after the baby bear, using his massive size to hold onto the fallen tree enough so that it doesn't break, and manages to catch the baby bear just as it falls off the branch and nearly falls into the water. I absolutely love Jawbreaker's interactions with this episode, and how he sort of feels like, again, that it's really shaking up Jawbreaker's character as well, because while Twitch and Dot are sort of the main characters in this episode, it is cool that Jawbreaker gets some spotlight as well. Anyway, this whole conflict ends with, after having Jawbreaker save the baby bear and Twitch save Robbie, that just leaves Dot to have to deal with the big mama bear parasite thing. So while Dot is still trying to dodge the bear parasite, one of its tentacles ends up slapping like Dot and knocking her into a wall, which knocks her prosthetic leg off in the process as well. And again, I absolutely love that despite Dot losing her leg in this fight, she's still super capable. I think this is just such an empowering message to disabled people that shows that just because they have a disability, they're not any less useful than someone who doesn't have a disability. So despite losing her prosthetic leg and seeing it across like a few feet away from her, she does manage to slowly crawl over to the prosthetic leg and retrieve it without being pounced on by the mama bear parasite, and basically outfits it onto her arm, sort of like a Mega Buster, and aims it at the parasite in like one of those surprisingly brutal moments in EarthSpark at this point, and literally shoots her leg through the bear's jaw and out the back of its head, killing it. Which, honestly, I get that it's just a parasite, so she's just killing like an alien blob thing, but still, like the context of it's just surprisingly brutal for EarthSpark. So after Dot kills the parasite, it just sort of writhes in pain before it just explodes into a mess of pink goo that actually goes into the stream. And there's this lingering shot where you see all the energon goo, or I assume it's energon, infect the water before dissipating into a bunch of pink bubbles. I don't know if it's supposed to imply that maybe this parasite is going to come back in a future episode, or maybe that's just his way of saying the water diluted the parasite and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Regardless, though, it is interesting to see what the context of this is and if we'll ever get a follow-up as to what exactly these Energon, presumably Energon-infected larvae are doing in ghost custody. So with the bear parasite having been killed, Dot puts her prosthetic leg back on and just reunites with all the Maltobots as well as Robbie and Mo, hoping they're all okay. At this point, Twitch, or I believe, no, Jawbreaker safely returns the baby cub to the mama bear, and they both go off into the woods happy, which Twitch is happy with as well. And at this point, though, Dot realizes that also Nightshade's Mother's Day gift to her was to alter her prosthetic leg. So Dot sort of just gently chastises Nightshade for this, basically saying that her prosthetic leg is something that's very important and personal to her, and she doesn't really appreciate having such big changes to it made without her permission, which Nightshade feels bad for, because they essentially explain that they just wanted to try and make Dot's life easier by having her prosthetic leg with all these new additions onto it. And while Dot realizes that Nightshade's heart was in the right place, she tells them gently that in the future they can still try to give upgrades to her prosthetic, but only ones that she approves of, and not doing it without her permission, which Nightshade agrees to. Then after that, it just sort of ends with Alex coming out of nowhere, just happening to know where everyone is, and gives Dot her Mother's Day present, which is these nice pair of binoculars, which she uses to spot a bird, which she puts in the bird journal that Robbie made for her. And then she says that they're all gonna go home and party. And so there's this really cute moment where her prosthetic leg activates one more time to activate the disco mode, and so all the Terrans as well as Robbie and Mo start dancing. And yes, Robbie is actually flossing in this scene. We actually have a Fortnite dance in a Transformers cartoon. I'm surprised it took us nearly 7 to 6 years to actually get a Fortnite dance in a Transformers property. But honestly, I think this is honestly hilarious that we've gotten to the point now where we actually have a Transformers character doing a Fortnite dance. It would have been hilarious if it was like hashtag or Twitch flossing, but I just think Robbie's 13 years old. He's definitely a Fortnite gamer at this point. You can't, come on, you gotta, he literally was playing PC games back in episode 6. You can't tell me he's cracked at Fortnite. But anyway, after that, the episode ends with sort of, in my opinion, a rather unnecessary ending, where essentially we cut back to the news channel van that we saw at the beginning of this episode drop off all the ghost canisters with the infected larva, and it goes through a holographic screen, the same one we saw back in episode 11, hashtag oops, only this time as the van goes inside the ghost base, it suddenly glitches out to reveal it's been a ghost van this whole time, and the old man driving the news van was a ghost agent in disguise as well, and then exits the car to report to Agent Croft that apparently their job was to go and dispose of these toxic larvae, which apparently are infecting the Witwicky wildlife, which I don't understand. Are they just doing it for waste disposal, or are they just trying to do some sort of experiment where they can see like what these Energon-infected larvae do to the wildlife, see if they can maybe make some sort of like army that they can control or something? I don't exactly know what the point of this is, but it just to me seems unnecessary, because the fact that I feel like it was clear enough with the cold open and the containers that Dot, Twitch, and Robbie finds halfway through this episode that, yeah, obviously Ghost is doing something with these larvae. Why do we need this like almost minute-long ending sequence of the ghost van just going up back into the place, revealing, oh, surprise, surprise, it's Ghost Van, and it seems as though Agent Croft had something to do with this? It just seems unnecessary in my opinion, and really doesn't contribute to this at all. It just feels like true filler. And so that was my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 1, Episode 15, Bare Necessities. If I had to rate this episode, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely a very fun filler episode that definitely shows more of Twitch and Dot's characters especially, but also Jawbreaker to a degree. I love how it just focuses more on building the family dynamic between all of them, but some stuff to me just feels extremely convoluted, like the ending just feeling absolutely unnecessary, and just Alex just happen to find where all the rest of the Maltos were just so that he could give her his Mother's Day present. Just feels like it wasn't really necessary in my opinion. And I do like a lot of the slapstick stuff in the comedy in this episode, like especially Thrash and Jawbreaker's musical number for Dot, or even hashtag Jawbreaker, Thrash, and Mo running away from the Mama Bear at the beginning. It was great. And then the final fight with Dot versus the Mama Bear Parasite was absolutely incredible. I loved that. But overall, yeah, it was still a filler episode, but a solid filler episode in my opinion. So that's going to be it for this review. I'll be back next week with episode 16, Warzone. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.